Isla whiskeys are very smoky.
Wow. Ooh. Wow.
This is Talking Neat, and I am here with Jesse Blaze from Jesse Blaze and the Bandoliers. How you doing today?
Doing great. Spent like the weekend hanging out with my son, doing lots of fun stuff. So.
Oh, very cool. So you're well relaxed,
Yes.
ready to have some whiskey?
Yeah. Well, I'll be more relaxed a little bit.
We're gonna polish all these bottles off.
Is that okay?
You know the
I'm a bit
rules,
of a
right?
lightweight.
First one to
Drink
drop.
that much.
I mean, you've already got the advantage.
Is that the rule?
You're on the couch. I'm on a stool.
All right. Okay. I'm on a couch. So.
I'm kidding. You get a finger of each.
I wasn't told 5 bottles. No, I can. Ooh, I see this. I can. This is nothing. You scared me for a second there.
The first episode we did, we were just pouring to halfway, and it didn't go well. So this is Monkey Shoulder.
Monkey's shoulder.
Yeah, it is.
That is a monkey's shoulder.
It's a blended Scotch. I believe it's like they take Scotch from the U.S. and just kind of blend it. And I don't think yeah, it's a blended malt. I actually like it. It's
Pretty good.
kind of vanilla.
It's got woo.
A lot of people like to mix it with stuff because it's kind of got like the vanilla, a little bit of dried fruit,
Yeah, it's a little
and so
sweeter.
it can kind of pick up some more flavors.
It's strong. A little bit.
Well, it is whiskey.
Yeah, I know. This is pretty much what I drink. I was straight edge until I was 28, and I didn't socially drink. I didn't socially anything, and then I realized that it was kind of holding me back in work. Really, like I was a pitching comic book writer for Marvel Comics and DC Comics, and you know, the people who would get hired were the people that they were comfortable going out drinking with. And I was the person who was like, hey, you want a beer? And I was like, thanks, anything, whatever. So I wasn't a part of the hang. So at 28, I was like, that's it. So I immediately just trained myself, like, I wanted to drink that, so in the beginning, I didn't know anything about alcohol. I just wanted to sound okay. I was like, Jack and Coke, that sounds good. I'll get to Jack and Coke. There are better whiskeys, definitely. Mm-hmm. And like every now and then, and there are worse. Like because somebody comes over and goes, "Well, we don't have that, but we have a generic whatever." And every now
Comes
and then
in a plastic bottle.
Wow, what the hell was this? That was great. And then other times you're like, "What was this?" Or when they just switch out the Coke for Diet Coke. I hate the taste of that aspartame.
Oh yeah.
I like sniff it out a mile away. You give me gum with the fake sugar in it. Ugh. Yeah, I can tell it's poison.
So how do you go from like 20 years of being straight edge to you're 28 and I mean at this point you're a parent.
Yeah.
Usually that's when people are turning it off and you're turning it on.
It was really hard. It was weird. There is an interesting story behind that to a certain degree because I did 2 things at once. I started drinking, and I'm not a big drinker, but I drink socially, and I enjoy having a drink now. And smoking weed, which I am a chronic pain sufferer, and I really don't like being.
That's what they all say.
Yeah.
You don't have to say that anymore. You're in California, not New York.
No, I really am. I got hit by a car when I was 11, living in Florida. I used to ride BMX bikes and do karate. So I'd be like an 11-year-old. And I would ride my bicycle back and forth. My dad did BMX with me, actually. And riding back, I had my big-ass helmet on my handlebars, and I got hit by...
That's the place for it.
Yeah, an SUV. I had taken out on my leg and like hit the windshield, across my neck and my head. And I didn't look at the injury for a really long time. So cannabis ended up becoming like, my one, not really painkiller, but help with, sort of dealing with my chronic pain when it really started to flare up in my 30s. But all those things kind of came from my parents had a very certain thing. My dad always wore it as a badge of honor that he didn't do drugs and he didn't drink a lot of alcohol. Like he drinks wine nowadays or whatever. But at the time, that was all his contemporaries were doing. So for him to not do it, it was like, yeah, something that, some meaning that I have that these other people don't have. And it kept him a little bit more on the straight and narrow than most of these other guys. But like you said, I was a parent. So when I started drinking and smoking weed, it was way more of like an intellectual experience for me. I just really got to analyze the social environment and experience, and how people are more comfortable dealing with one another. That was never a problem for me, but I found that people were more comfortable if they knew that I was also partaking, drinking along with them. And that's so much of it. I enjoy eating with people, and I enjoy drinking with people because it's just a communion. You and I just drank from the same bottle. We're enjoying the same thing. We're being affected, theoretically speaking, in similar ways. We're on the same page with one
We're
another.
equals.
Yeah, exactly. So, that was like a big experience for me, just seeing the communal aspect of alcohol. And then, when it came to cannabis, it relieved lifelong anxiety and depression that I had kind of due to my pain situation that I wasn't really acknowledging. And just kind of freed me up to like take a look at myself and perspective and be like, oh, like something's wrong, like I shouldn't be this tense. I shouldn't be so excited all the time. So I was like really freed by my my drug and alcohol experiences as a 28-year-old. And it's interesting because I always think about that most people, they drink and they do drugs in their 18,
Late teens,
19,
yeah,
20,
early
21
20s.
when they're in college, and they're just kind of out to mess themselves up because they don't know what the hell they're doing. I was so past the point of wanting to mess myself up. I just wanted to learn, and both experiences, alcohol and cannabis, were just huge learning experiences for me and helped me like learn about myself and grow and become a lot less tense. A lot of the people like me who are like putting that stuff aside, we don't have the extra coping thing that other people who will drink sometimes or smoke sometimes, and a lot of us can get really, just tense. I used to be really tense.
So it was basically like a 5-minute response for peer pressure. That's what did it to you?
My best friend, drummer, Crystalline, convinced me to do brownies with him and his girlfriend and my girlfriend when like a month before my 21st birthday, and an hour after that he died.
Oh wow!
And
from the brownies or
no,
something else?
We had been driving for like 40 hours, and he dropped me off at home, and he got to a car accident, or rather he hit a tree, only tree for miles in either direction. And I didn't speak to him about it again for years. I mean, I didn't speak about that with anybody for years. And then my brother Cody came to me one day and was like, yo, dude, I really think you should have some marijuana. And I was like, okay. And he was like, that's it? That's it? Just okay? Like he thought I was going to fight him or something. Because for so long I hadn't ever done that stuff.
Were you ever the type of person who would frown on other people drinking?
No, I think that's one of the other things too. The fact that I didn't, my dad, was wearing it as a badge of honor. I didn't really wear it as a badge of honor because I felt like that was kind of, on some level, like disrespectful to some of my friends who I saw didn't have a problem. One of my best friends, Brian Coles, who,
So you weren't lecturing?
Yeah, no, he used to drink, plenty, and smoke whatever. Had great grades, eye on the prize, great guy. Some people, it's like my mom grew up with a lot of people who weren't maybe the best people, and she saw them smoking and drinking, and she's like, look at these people, it's because of that. Cannabis isn't going to turn you into a terrible person. It's really just going to allow you to feel comfortable being who you want to be.
And bring yourself out for a lot of people.
Yeah, so for me, I'm very motivated and I'm work-oriented. Cannabis just made me very, more so, want to get things done and, and want to learn. And, and then the same thing, alcohol, a lot of times it'll let free some of those things. For me, I'm just pretty happy-go-lucky and stuff. So alcohol tends to just make me really sweet and syrupy. So I gotta be careful not to drink too much, so I don't start like,
Yeah.
I love you, man. Just love you. I'm a
Well,
songwriter.
that's actually why I serve the alcohol. It's how I make friends.
Yeah, you're digging for the love. I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
So moving on. Familiar?
Yes.
Jameson, but this is their new stout edition.
Okay.
So it's your basic Jameson. They triple distill it, and then they throw it in a beer barrel. And so it's kind of got a cocoa finish.
It's a good thing we're only a little bit of this. Mixing alcohol is like my Achilles heel.
It's all whiskeys. You're allowed to mix it.
I guess, is that true? If it's all whiskey,
Yeah,
you're allowed to mix it?
I've never... I know a lot of people... My wife, she can't go from wine to anything. I mean, it has to be all red wine, or she's just violently ill. For me, I'll go from beer to wine to champagne to whiskey to anything. I mean, moonshine.
Like it's nothing? See?
Yeah.
I know so many people who could just like put it away. But I've blacked out twice in my life, and I did not like either one. And I had no idea, to the next day. And then like the next day trying to figure out what happened. And it was always like, oh, I had this, and then so and so told me they were getting married, and then we had this. Okay, that was where it went wrong. I was like, yes, congratulations. It's a good thing I'm nice when I'm drunk, because when you forget
no
what
one
you've
likes
done,
a mean drunk.
you got to be like, what? Uh-oh.
How many apologies do I owe?
What
How many
did I
checks do I
do?
got to write?
Shoot. What did I do? Oh my God, you're going to get me so drunk on these little lips of whiskey. Man, I should have prepared for this for like a couple weeks. I don't drink enough.
So now, Jesse Blaze and the Bandoliers, you guys just released was it just a new song or a new video?
Yeah,
The Price.
Yeah, we just did a song for diabetes. The organization called me up, and they were looking to do something similar to my father's ballad version of "We're Not Gonna Take It." Mm-hmm. It was funny because he wanted me to do a ballad version of "We're Not Gonna Take It" originally, because he knew that I had done it first on Rock the Cradle.
I was going to say, I thought you were the one who like inspired him, because I remember, I mean, that was a long time ago.
Well,
but
I wouldn't say that his doing it was an inspiration. I seem to remember there's a good friend of our family.
I remember him saying, it's never going to work.
him.
It's never going to work. He was coming down. I didn't know if it was for the show.
No, exactly. Well, you want to know the truth of that. Me and my family had done a lot of reality shows at that point, so we were really playing the game. And so, I mean, my father was the first person I called when I was like, they want me to do We're Not Gonna Take It, and I was like, I got an idea. I'm like, I want to do it like it's a ballad, and then like we'll kick it into a.
So that was all
song.
you bringing it.
Yeah, and I told him, and I think it was his idea, or maybe he talked to my mom, where they said, well, why don't we pretend like we hate the idea? We don't know, so that we can, and we'll tell the production company what we're doing. This will be good drama for the TV. So we got to pull the other one. It's so funny though with that living on YouTube, because there's so many people who watch the first like 60 seconds and they're like, fuck this pretty boy and his ballad, We're Not Gonna Take It, you can shove it up his mouth. Like, keep watching, man. Watch me for another 30 seconds. We did it right. But yeah, so him seeing that, he was like, hey, can you, we'd like to do the same thing for diabetes. And I said, well, I'm totally down to do something, but I don't want to do the exact same thing. He just did that. I said, what if we did The Price? Which The Price was written by my father about my mother and myself. I'm 5 years older than my oldest. Sibling. And so I was around, just me and my mom for a while, and that song was written when he had to go away. He was, I think he was only around for maybe 3 months of the first 2 years of my life.
Oh, wow.
And during that period of time, he wrote The Price. And it was just about sort of the price of like, getting what you want. You work so hard to get where you want to be, and then your family's taken away from you. So I thought there was something there with diabetes of like, you know, of that price of losing your family. You know, everybody's working through their life trying to get where they want to be, only to have, you know, disease, you know, things like this get in the way, and all of a sudden they're losing their loved ones, or they can't afford their life, or it's, you know, it's become unmanageable. And the diabetes situation, I mean, I don't know how aware you are, but the amount of people affected, the age range affected. If you watch the video, I mean, we have little girls, little boys, you know, on the show. I mean, on the video, all the way up to, you know, firefighters, people who are living. There's tons of people, you know, living with this, refusing to deal with it. But the cost, the price of the insulin and dialysis and so many different things. And I mean, a lot of people have to deal with different things based on, you know, how severe their diabetes is. But it's epidemic. And the amount of people who have diabetes, don't even know they have diabetes, is huge. So it's really something that people have to be aware of, and it's something that you know, we have to try to take the power back on. And I mean, the biggest thing with being able to take the power back is your diet. You know, there's a lot of people who've had diabetes, especially up to like type 2, who've been able to get a lot of control of their diabetes. You know, make their diabetes, you know, go away, or at least the symptoms go away through a really good, strict diet. So, you know, people don't know that. And, you know, right now they're at the mercy of all these pharmaceutical companies who are, you know, using these people like piggy banks. And somebody's got to watch out for them. So, so we did that song. And that song kind of, I guess, was like the genesis of an album and a new band. I used to have a band called Baptized by Fire. And I played in New York for a while. And then I went underground. I've been writing songs. And you know, won some awards and got a lot of placements on, you know, NFL and NASCAR and stuff like that. And it's just time to do another band. So I put together the guys that I wanted, and we're actually doing our first gig in a few days or a week.
Oh, very cool. Sorry, is Jesse Believes in the Bandoliers a LA band? You keep referring. I used to be in a New York band.
Yeah, my LA band, Sebastian Schmidt on drums, who's
You're a full LA resident now, right?
I am. I mean, I'm
For a
from
few
New York
years.
originally. When I came, I had to get my New York tattooed on my neck so everybody would remember.
Believe you're actually a New Yorker.
Well, you know what? It's funny.
You don't talk like a New Yorker.
Well, I'm a voiceover actor. So
Yeah.
I
So
can
are
talk
you
like
working?
I'm from New York if I want to talk like I'm
What's your normal voice? Are you
from
like?
Long Island?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I suppose I don't really ever talk like this, but I suppose I would be speaking like this.
Okay.
Like, I'm from Long Island, so talk it. Want some coffee? My dad's D. Snider. You've been to Lemore's. See, but I don't have an act. My dad was a voiceover actor, and it took him a while. It's funny. You see him speak on David Letterman in like the mid '90s, and he sounds like a Long Island Rocky Balboa. And then he started doing voiceover, and yet he had to get rid of his accent, and he got way more eloquent. And I just sort of emulated him as a teenager, and he was really eloquent by then. So I just kind of lost my accent. And then I started working as a host, which I kind of hate, because you're the messenger. Being the messenger sucks. And then working as a voiceover actor, which I like because it's just your voice. You know, everybody knows my voice whether they know it or not. You know, I was the voice of Pizza Hut for 2.5 years. You know, want more taste? Get America's favorite pizza, Pizza Hut.
I remember chicken fries.
Yeah, Cheetos, chicken fries. I was just Kia Motors for like 3.5 years. Buying a Kia is one smart move. And now, you know, and I'm the voice of Food Paradise, which is was on Travel Channel. I believe we're moving to Cooking Network, or we just moved to Cooking Network. I was just hosting for Haunted Live for Travel Channel too. So I mean, you know, I just kind of, I get bored really easy, and so I just like move on to doing other things while I'm waiting to do stuff, and so I end up doing a lot of things.
And it's a lot of things in different fields, which is just, and it's remarkable that you're able to succeed in that many fields.
Yeah, it really is. You know, it's funny. I'm a real overachiever, you know, just like in my mind, you know, like nothing's ever good enough for me. And not like, you know, I like to achieve things with meaning, you know, like I don't like when things are handed to, if something's handed to me, I don't feel like, you know, like that doesn't satisfy me. You know, when I earn something that has meaning, it does. And because I am so diverse for so long, I felt like a failure in every arena that I worked in because I didn't have the massive success in any area that I wanted to. And then one day, one of my friends said to me, dude, I forget what I said to him, but he was just like, are you kidding me? He's like, you've succeeded in every single field that you've tried to pursue a career in. You work in hosting on TV. You work as a voiceover actor. You've written for Marvel Comics and written Deadpool and the Hulk, and you do everything you want to do. It might not be as big a scale yet as you might like it to be, but literally there is not a job that I've set out to do that I have not succeeded at doing. Even being a national champion semi-pro football player. I desperately wanted to win a championship, and I didn't. I wanted to play in college. I didn't play in college, and then I found a semi-pro team, and you know I played for 8 seasons, and I won a ring. I was actually going to wear it, but I left it in the car. My championship ring. Yeah, I mean, I'm really pretty blessed that anything that I've wanted to do, I've been able to find a way. And now it's been just sort of a matter of like, all right, well, we've done everything we want to do. Now let's take this to the next level.
So is there one area that, like, if you have a business card, what is going to be on it? Are you a musician or voiceover? Are you football player?
It's hard for me to not say music and comics. I just love and appreciate the art form. You know, I mean, for me, it's just the arts are where it's at, and I really believe that I have great taste. You know, I know so many people will think that, but really, great taste, I think, comes from being able to put your ego aside and see the greatness in other people, and want other people to share in love. You know, and I really just have a love for comic books the same way I have a love for music. And I have worked in all the fields that I've worked in, and I just kind of see the same thing over and over again, and it's that there's no shepherd. There's nobody who's strong enough and in their power enough to kind of watch everything and make sure everybody's taken care of. You know, just invariably some ball gets dropped and the art suffers for it. And as an artist, I just would always come out the other end going, what the hell, man? I gave everything I had to this so that this would be the greatest thing that ever happened. How did it go wrong? And when you do that long enough, I think ultimately what you learn to be a good producer. And I think more than anything, that's really what I am. I'm a producer. I have now produced many comic books and many songs and many, albums now, and and even associate produced my brother's award-winning film All That Remains, which won dozens of awards. I've produced a lot of stuff across the board. I know how things work because I've worked in so many different fields, and I'm very cooperative. I like to work with people to get the best results, get things done. So, at the end of the day, I think it says producer on my business card because I like to produce art. And even more than music and comic books, that can be film and it could be anything, but it's just about taking great ideas and bringing them to life the best way they possibly could be brought to life. But at the end of the day, I've been singing songs, writing my own songs since before I could talk, since I knew what words were. As a baby, I grew up with MTV on 24/7 in my house, so my mom could be like, "Look, Daddy's on the TV."
You're that generation.
Yeah,
MTV,
and there was actual music there.
Yeah.
And my father was there in the mix. Go, there's Daddy. So like for me, it was just like I just wanted to give back that same gift that I was given from the music. Always the Muppets and comic books. Like for me, all of this art has been a great gift that's comforted me through tough times and has changed my life for the better and made me feel, like I could do it, like I wasn't so alone. And every single time I get that gift, I just want to give it back. I just want to give it to others. So I mean, really, I've dedicated my life to being an artist who's making art for the people, for the other people, so that I can hopefully save them the same way I got saved by so many.
Yeah, definitely. Moving on.
Few.
This is a
Is
rye.
that because you only need a few drops?
Actually, I love the story with this one. Few comes from Chicago or Evanston, Illinois, and which is in the late 1800s. They had the Temperance movement, which preceded the Prohibition era, and it was just a whole bunch of these like pastors' wives shaming people outside the bar, just all the alcoholics and people drinking, just like, you shouldn't be drinking, all that kind of stuff. I mean, they were basically like the 80s version of the PMRC, just a bunch of women who didn't know, like, they wanted to do something, so they just shamed the drunks. And so they...
Isn't that funny? Because you're always kind of like, I am being shamed right now.
Yeah.
I don't need you
yelling
at me on top of it.
This one lady, her name was Frances Elizabeth Willard. She became like the head of it. She was from Evanston, Illinois, and she went and she got like sit downs with President Hayes at the time, Jefferson Davis and his wife, and she started recruiting all these high people in the country, their wives, into this movement, and it later caused Prohibition. Her name was Frances Elizabeth Willard, which is Few. This is right around the corner from the church that her husband ran.
Screw you, Few?
Basically, yeah. And so it's that's why I love the story behind this one. It is a rye on this one. It tastes like...
She sure was.
Yeah.
To Few. She tried to stop us, the bitch.
But you know what? Her name's going to live on forever for just being a pain in drunks' asses.
Oh, Few. If you could taste you now.
Oh, wait till we get to the next one. But yeah, this one, I love this one.
Yeah, no, that one's actually my favorite of the three so far.
So now I noticed a few years ago you started blending comics and music.
Yeah,
with
well,
the Black Light District.
It's so funny. I just got a new manager, Jeff Assenbauer, and he's a great example of the opposite of what was happening to me before. When Jeff heard my music and my comics, he was like, all right, I want to figure out a way to combine the music and the comic books together. Prior to Jeff, pretty much every manager who ever came my way was just like, is there any way to simplify all the things that you're doing into just like this?
Put it in a teaspoon.
Can you just put it in a little box? And I was just kind of always like, I mean, yeah, you can ignore half the shit I'm doing if you want to, but I get bored and I do shit, and I'm still doing shit. So, like, do you want to do anything with the other shit that I've done? And Jeff was like the first person, like, let's put it all together. So, and that was very much my idea from the start. It's been, well, how do I tie all these things together into one thing? And I was really successful with doing that with Blacklight District, which is it's kind of an art installation online, a little boutique art project that I did. And, you know, I got really tired of people telling me to focus, essentially. I was writing all these different songs, NASCAR, Monday Night Football, college football, and different movies, stuff like that. But everything was all different. And everybody was like, you know, we like all your stuff, but everything has a different vibe. And I was like, yeah, because I'm writing with a different producer every other week, just writing songs. I'm not like in the studio, you know, it's like, it was basically, they were implying that I could not make a uniform sound. Like, I was like, no, I'm just adjusting to the people that I'm working with each week, and I'm always working with somebody different. So, like, I'm not trying to make this person sound like that person sound like that person. It's not going to work. It's not going to sound good. I'd rather get the best out of them. And so after kind of getting that response a bunch of times, I got really annoyed, and I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go do something consistent so that I can be like, haha, fuck you guys, consistency. So I got this name, Blacklight District, which was my nickname for my studio, my home studio. I just, you know, I'm the son of D. Snider. Whatever you think of D, for me, he was God. He was the bee's knees, the greatest, you know, like, and I mean, he really has a lot to offer, my dad. And most, if you've never seen him live, then you really don't know who D. Snider is. If you've never listened to more than just We're Not Gonna Take It or I Wanna Rock, then you really don't know who D. Snider is. You know, but if you had like me, there's a lot to really admire. And I really had like the small sort of like inferiority complex. I always carried myself confidently because that's how my mom and my dad would carry themselves. But I was like always secretly very insecure. And you know, the Muppets were a huge force in my life because the Muppets were me, as far as I was concerned. They were the worst in the world at what they loved. You couldn't get any lamer than Fozzie. What the fuck? Kermit's the worst variety show runner of all time. Why do you keep hiring these people who are ready to burn down the place? You know, Piggy is not glamorous. She wants to be a supermodel and an actress. She's not the right type, and she's not very talented. Gonzo is going to kill himself with the things that he wants to do. Everybody is failing spectacularly at what they're doing. And, you know, for me, it was always this great comfort of like, well, if these motherfuckers can keep on keeping on, I can as well. And I always felt a little bit like a Muppet, like in the face of like my dad's a rock star, and I'm gonna go do that same thing. What an idiot! Like just kind of moving along. But I was like, well, I'm not a Muppet. I'm a human. I can figure out how to be better than these stupid Muppets.
Have you figured it out yet?
Yeah, it took a minute. It took a lot of psychedelic experiences, a lot of magic mushrooms and ayahuasca, but yeah, I have. And it's amazing. And I mean, and when you get to that point, that's when you really go, oh man, I got to go back, and I got to show everybody the truth of all this stuff, so that they're not doing, you know, the same thing that I did, you know. And I mean, really, I've dealt with chronic pain. You know, I've been somebody who doesn't look at their pain. I've been somebody who's, you know, been really insecure, but I never really looked at that. You know, I like try to put my best face on always, and I end up kind of just kicking my sorrows down the road. And I think so many of us are doing that, you know, especially the men. You know, we try to take care of everybody sometimes, and we get like overwhelmed. You know, that's why we die first. You know, it's funny. There's this huge movement for, you know, feminism. You know, big push, and I love it. I'm all for it. I really believe that the patriarchy has had its fucking day, and the matriarchy would certainly be a step in the right direction. But of course, the matriarchy can't make the same mistakes that we made. They got to be ready to give back a little bit to the patriarchy so that we can find our balance. You know, but on the same side of like the men have been controlling everything, the women have had a part of control as well. And in what we've had to experience, what we've taken on essentially is the dying and the suffering and the pain. And that's a really rough one. And it's why men so often exhibit some of these worser, you know, acting out characteristics. It's just because a lot of this pain and suffering ends up falling on the guys. And you know, and the women as well. I mean, it goes all ways. And I mean, I really believe in reincarnation. And if you believe in that, you know, I've been a woman before, I've been a man before, and you've been a woman before, and you've been a man before, and ultimately we're all doing it to each other. But there's so many different lessons, and there's so much anger and frustration to be let out. And I really hope with my music and comics, you know, everything that I create and help produce, it's that it gives a outlet for everybody to, you know, to put these old ideas to bed and move on, and, you know, find peace within ourselves, and forgive our parents, and forgive our friends, and, you know, find what we love and do that, you know, and do things the right way, take care of each other, take care of the planet, and stop this stupid perpetuation of, well, this is what we've been doing. Come on, there's a lot of better ideas. Don't allow the angry conversation to be the thing that guides you forward. When the conversation about Trump and Democrats and Republicans, when it got so ugly that you couldn't have a reasonable conversation without people assuming a side that you've taken, I just stopped having the conversation. I said, you know what? I'm just going to go clean the planet. You guys go argue about this stuff because I'm not taking sides. I'm just trying for us to come to an agreement, and everybody just wants to argue and call each other Nazis. And on both sides. Like you're a tree-hugging hippie and you're a Nazi.
Isn't it dangerous to just stop the conversation, though?
It's so dangerous to stop the conversation. And everybody who wants to go punch Nazis, like, hey man, I get you. I'm a Captain America guy. Like I'm a superhero guy. Like on one level, yeah. But you know what? When you really learn about World War II and the Nazi Party and all these things, none of it validates what happened. None of it validates what transpired. But you just see so much of the much more nuanced and weird, sort of unfortunate conversation that takes place. Countries being ransacked after one war and having a certain feeling about whatever, and other countries feeling that, and certain political powers taking advantage of things, and ultimately political powers benefiting from both sides of conflicts like that, and then you see some crazy person who's decided that he's going to sit there and be the one who's defending the Nazis, and that person's like, kill that guy. And you go talk to that guy, and he wants to kind of have a nuanced conversation about something that nobody wants to have a nuanced conversation about. And that's like everything. You want to talk about abortion, there's a lot of people who want to have a nuanced conversation in the face of people who don't want to have a nuanced conversation.
Yeah.
And that's just perpetually what we're faced with. Somebody who's like, there's a little bit more information here, and I know it, and I'd like to talk. And then other people going, no, fuck you, we're done with that. That conversation is over. But I do really believe that, if you squeeze the pressure, it comes out in other ways.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's better to have an intellectual conversation in the forefront where these confused ideas and, misaligned ideas can kind of come out in the right way, where people can really be faced with things in a public forum and other people can watch the conversation, hear the conversation. If a Nazi is articulating the Nazi point of view out loud to a whole group of people, and then equally a person who is wiser than that gets to articulate their point just as fairly, I promise you.
Yeah.
The person who's not the Nazi is going to win. Let the Nazi say the Nazi thing. The saying of the thing is what frees us. And people are all worried about Hitler and all that stuff, but that was a very different situation. That was more nationalism, and that was it was really a perfect storm of a lot of different situations. Whereas here we have a completely polarized populace. We are polarized. Half of us, more than half of us, definitely do not want anything to do with the Nazis. I think it's safe to say. I feel pretty safe.
Which
that
is
we're
sad
not
that
fall into the Nazi state.
you just say more than half of us. I mean,
Yeah.
it's sad you can't say 99.9%
Well,
of us.
you know what? I only even say that though because I believe that is sort of the thing that so many people. If I tried to say it the other way, I don't really think that that's true. I really think in a lot of instances, most of the people who are Nazi, they're not really Nazis. They're Nazis. It's here. This is the better example. People are like, there's no God. There's no giant guy with a beard watching us controlling everything. That is true. To say there's no God, your definition of God is what is all fucked up. You're like, God is guy, beard, giant, and he controls things. No. Let's say God is everything in existence, all totality of everything. God is an idea and we live inside an idea. That is a truth that really can't be denied to a certain degree. Could you say that just everything in existence was God? That's completely different perspective. See, so this is the thing. So we're talking about an idea of what the thing is. So people are like, that guy's a Nazi. That guy and all the other guys are an individual. Each one of them is an individual. Why is it that they've aligned with a socialist agenda? There can be a lot of reasons. Perhaps it's they're German by descent, and they've looked back into the history of German people and what happened to them during World War I and then World War II. And they even read some of the secret type stuff, secret society type stuff, the things that talk about things that were going on behind the scenes of the war that sort of make everybody into the bad guy. I mean, when you get into like World War II secret stuff, it's just like mind-blowing. So you have people, you don't know what they know, what they think they know, and what it is that they're harping on. You have an idea in your mind of the Red Skull, which was my idea, going, we're gonna kill all the Jews and all the blacks and the gays, fuck them. And I'm like, no, kill that guy. But that's not exactly what you're seeing. And I think actually even when you listen to some of these socialists talk, you don't really, they're not exactly saying that. They're trying to have a nuanced conversation. I don't agree with their nuanced conversation, but they are trying to be intellectuals. And when we show up and punch them in the face, we are being Neanderthals. We are essentially fulfilling the prophecy of any sort of agenda that says there's a superior anything and we better freaking take control of everything before these barbarians rise up and kill us. So like the more you just like go and like fight ideology with fists, I just find, you're like losing the battles. Like I'm a tough guy. I can kick the shit out of pretty much anybody you put in front of me, even really tough guys, because I just am not afraid to die, and I don't give a shit how bloody I'm going to get before I do what it is that I'm going to do. But I don't have to kick the shit out of people because intellectually, it's a waste of my fucking time. That's why I play football, so I can be intellectual and tough. It's a better use of your time to draw a line in the sand, form a cage of ideas that is inescapable, that make people have to face themselves and realize their own inadequacy and realize how weak and egotistical that they've been, as opposed to, punching them in the face. That doesn't teach them anything, and it just sets you on like a karma wheel to be a part of their vengeance and their anger and be a source of something that motivates them in their life, as opposed to just being above all that shit. And enjoying this existence. Like, just too many people get caught up in that this needs to be defended. I really wanted to defend the Native Americans so bad. I mean, still, I want to give the damn country back to them. When I found out what happened, I was just like, what the fuck? We are assholes. Give it back now. Like, it's like, oh, it's too late now. It's not too late now. Give it back right this frickin' second. We stole this fucking place. Give Mexico back their fucking land and give the Native Americans back their land. I'd rather them be fucking ruling us than the damn white people who took over this damn place. It's absurd, the things that happened for us to get here, and we just go, oh, well, there's nothing to be done about that now. No, there are things to be
winner
done.
take all.
Let's stop being assholes and start being people who are more reasonable, and let's have the conversations, and let's not just write everybody off and back everybody into corners, because that is when all of a sudden there's a Nazi party and whatnot. If we stop talking to the people who we're ostracizing, they will form a group of people who will be a problem and we'll have to fight them eventually. And if they did it to us, or they did it to the Democrats, I'm not a Democrat or a Republican. I'm a fucking reasonable, rational human being, centrist. But if they did it to the Democrats would do the same thing. They'd fucking form a posse and they would do it. And they're proving it. Every freaking Republican thing that Democrats used to freaking complain about that the Republicans would do, the Democrats get power and they do the exact same shit. And then the Democrats lose power and they're complaining. It's just, I have no sympathy. I have no sympathy for the, oh, it's okay when I do it, but it's not okay, but fuck you. Either we're playing the game on an even keel and we're all freaking losers and sinners and assholes and we got to all, figure out where the center is, or we're all perfect and whatnot. We'll see how that works out, us all being perfect and awesome. I don't think it's going to turn out so great.
So, are you part of the problem, or did you vote today?
I am absolutely part of the problem. I did not fucking vote today because I am in California, where it's fucking already been decided because of the stupid system. I don't have to vote in California. This is, if I was in a friggin' country, if I was in a state where maybe it was going to be like
Georgia
anything,
or Texas.
Yeah, it's not that I'm in California. It's like ridiculous. If my vote was going to matter for across the whole friggin' country, I would be voting. But no, my vote didn't matter today. Doesn't matter because I live in California. I should move somewhere where my vote would matter so that it would make sense for me to get up and vote. But no, it doesn't make any sense for me to get up and vote here in California because it's all polarized in the other direction. I mean, except on some issues. So every now and then I'll get up and I'll freaking vote because sometimes we're crazy.
But see, I mean...
But right now, everybody's just going, Democrat, 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 doesn't matter which. But you know, like, we laugh at that, but like, a minute ago, the pro-lifers were going, Republican, 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 it doesn't matter which. And they didn't care about any of the issues except for that one. And they didn't agree about the war spending, and they didn't agree about so many different things that were going on, but they were like, pro-life this, I hate Trump this. I mean, you know, and everybody just misconstrues, you know, everybody voted for Trump and they're like, everybody's Nazis. No, he's not Nazis. Half the people were just trying to see what would happen. What'll happen if we do this?
I mean,
he was the red button.
It was.
They said don't hit this red
everyone
button.
knew where we would go if they hit the Hillary button.
Yeah, man.
And so they were going, I didn't want that.
Anyway.
And so they went, well,
we were ready to hit the Bernie Sanders button, and they stole it away from us.
I agree.
So this is what I mean. And then all of a sudden, like, society blames itself for how it went down. What are we doing blaming each other for the fact that the Democratic National Convention fucking robbed us? Robbed Bernie Sanders, took money for his fucking contributors and put it to freaking Hillary Clinton's campaigns. I mean, we did not want that bitch. We were not interested in her. She's a corporate Democrat all the way. Would have been more of the freaking same. And then I had freaking friends of mine, Democratic liberal friends, going, "Hey man, you gotta vote Hillary." No, man. No, I'm not voting fucking Hillary. Are you kidding me? You know what her fucking husband and her did? You want to see the list of people that they have pardoned? Oh my God! You want to friggin' say this person isn't a criminal? Look up every name on the list of people that the Clintons pardoned. Seriously, you want to just prove for all time? Just look at the names of the people.
Oh, it's all these
Clinton
corporate financiers.
No, drug dealers.
Yeah, dealers.
Criminals. Look up some real information. Don't just listen to the stupid conversation, Benghazi bullshit. This woman and her husband have a string of just, wow, that's pretty shady. Wow, that's pretty shady. Wow, that's pretty shady. And then you guys had the balls to yell at everybody else who didn't vote the way you want for him. No, she was an awful idea. And so was freaking Trump. But, you know, I didn't vote for Trump. I mean, I've known that man from prior. My dad was on Celebrity Apprentice. My mom, he tried to hire her to be his personal makeup assistant. He is a chauvinist. A terrible chauvinist pig. Why would we want to put a man like that in the White House? It's just absurd. But I understand the people who did the crazy thing. And you can't just shun everybody. Mm-hmm. You know, like, it's like the house is on fire. Let's just put it out.
Yeah.
Instead of arguing about it and pointing at it. Look at it. This is a house. This is a fire. This is... Quick, let's get in there. There's people in there. We need to get them out. Let's get water. I bet there's ways to put fire out. Anybody? Any ideas? Become firefighters.
Yeah.
I hate the bitter conversation. And, you know, I'm a songwriter and a musician and an artist to try to untie that conversation. And it's really funny because in comics right now, this conversation has become very polarized. Because a lot of the writers are using their platform to spout their political ideals, and you know, that's been going on for ages. But it had always happened a lot more elegantly. You know, Chuck Dixon, who's a very hardcore Republican, one of the most beautiful, brilliant comic book writers, he is the man who defined Dick Grayson as Nightwing, as far as I'm concerned. And has defined a lot of Batman, and I mean, has written diatribes about Batman being anti-gun. Chuck Dixon is not anti-gun. But he's a writer with the reasonable ability to know that this character is not me, and to anything that he wants to say, any point he wants to make, is a reasonable point that might be being made, and it's coming from his Republican mind, sure, but it's being laid down within reason of his other
With
side.
what's
of it.
best for the
Yeah,
character.
and when there's another side that isn't a Republican point, he lays that down. And a lot of these writers have now really taken it to like hamstring and essentially like grab the Republican by his arm, twist his arm around his back, and go, "Ha ha, motherfucker! Black Panther says you're a racist." And that is just not the way. You know, you're trying to. A Buddhist teacher, master, is trying to challenge you in ways that surprise you, so that you can come about on your own to realization. Oh, I've been looking at this the wrong way. Oh, look at that. Oh, eureka. And the best song and the best comic book, I really love a short story, a comic book short, only 1 page, or 21 page book, beginning, middle, end, like a great, 1 issue comic book can teach you so much. It can just put you in a place that changes you forever. And that is, I really believe, the blessing of art, to be these Buddhist masters all around us. Even when your milkshake is bringing all the boys to the yard, there's something inherent about why these things spark for us and what they mean. And we always end up learning a little bit of something from the short form story, because they're essentially just the same thing. These little Buddhist master challenges, or here's a little problem we've got going on. I definitely try to show up being that all the time, and hopefully teaching people a better way. And if not teaching them a better way, giving them an outlet for the terrible way that we're currently doing it. What is this?
This is Barrel Select, barrel whiskey. So they call it the infinite barrel. They look for what is going to make this great blended whiskey.
Cheers.
It is cask strength, though, before you take a swig, which means they don't dilute it. So it's, instead of a 40%, yeah, and you're feeling that right now, it's 60%. So you got a bit more of a kick.
Woo!
I was going to say you can add a little water in this one. Were you rooting against Venom, the movie?
Oh, that's such a great question. Was I rooting against Venom? Honestly, I totally was rooting against Venom. I'm
like the FBI. I already know the answer.
It's a bit of an absurdity, to do Venom without Spider-Man. And he, there are few mythologies from the comics that I have as much of an appreciation for as the Venom what do you call it? Storyline. Just very simply, Peter Parker ends up, in this big superhero mixed world thing in Secret Wars, and he comes away with this weird alien
symbiote
gel, the symbiote that attaches to him, and he's using it for a while, and it becomes this sort of like steroid type thing where it's like he's becoming more aggressive, and he's kind of changing, and he realizes that this thing is no good for him. Like this good guy is being poisoned, and he finally has to get rid of the evil. And when he gets rid of the evil, it just so happens that, like, the way the chips are falling, there's this other guy who is essentially, and this is why Spider-Man 3 sucks. Spider-Man 3 sucks because they cast a guy as Eddie Brock, who was essentially just Peter Parker if he was like a little bit more callous. Mm-hmm. Eddie Brock is supposed to be Flash Thompson. Flash Thompson is the bully from high school who beats the shit out of Peter all the time. So all of a sudden, this evil Spider-Man costume goes to this big bodybuilder who's this unsuccessful reporter who's got a real bone to pick with Peter, and a real bone to pick with Spider-Man, because Spider-Man and Peter are the exclusive photographer for the Daily Bugle. You know, Peter doesn't want anybody getting in. Eddie's trying to take pictures of Spider-Man. It's really a great thing because Peter's not really doing the greatest thing, taking away the job from Eddie. So, you know, Peter does a little shady thing, and ultimately he gets this suit, and then all of a sudden, like, the full nature of the suit's darkness starts to come out. And then there's just this amazing thing that happened with the artists over time, whereas this scary mouth turns into a mouth with like a little tongue, and then by the time Eric Larson got there, this freaking tongue is just like out of the mouth, and you know, and he became this crazy like Geiger-esque alien monster who was hulking, huge. Spider-Man's spider sense didn't work; he wasn't affected by it. You know, it was a really cool take on a dark Spider-Man. So when they go, oh, we're gonna do a Venom movie, I'm just like, how do you even do that? And like, and why would I want you to do that? Because it removes all this great story that I totally want to see on the big screen. And they didn't get right.
Well, and they didn't do the origin part.
Yeah, and
really
they didn't do it right. And but I just saw it with my son. I saw Predator and Venom back to back. Loved Predator. Liked Venom. It was intellectually frustrating. Just as a writer and a person with a brain, I just found so much of it just sort of bizarre. But the parts where he was Venom were awesome. I was like, see, now more of that. I'd love to see some more of that.
I had a problem with the parts where he was Venom because the comic book Venom, I mean, he was biting heads off people. I mean, he was just vicious.
He was vicious.
I mean, even Carnage. I mean, they can't show that.
Well, see, for me, it's all of this like sort of extreme, like it just keeps sort of amplification. Like it's the reason why none of the DC movies work, because they want to make everybody Batman. They're like, Batman's our most popular character. Make everyone Batman. But they don't understand that literally every single character that they have is founded in the fact that they weren't Batman. You know, Batman and Superman are not the same characters. They are polar opposites in the comics. Superman doesn't kill anybody, and he won't hurt or torture people. He will do what is necessary to save people, but always doing the right thing. Batman, he walks a line. He will make you think that he's going to kill you. Anything to get the job done. And then, in the middle of Batman and Superman, the characters that have survived as periodicals are all characters who are also not Batman, not Superman. Somewhere in the middle, you know? And then, you know, in the DC universe, after Batman, you get into the people who kill people, you know? And this is literally, it's a moral line. You know, it's mythology. This god behaves this way. This god behaves this way. This god behaves this way. And it's all because he is here to represent this. He is here to represent this. He is here to represent this. And it is representing this that he teaches us something. And if we make them all exactly the same, we don't learn anything from them, because they are no longer gods executing very strong personality archetypes. They're just us. And what the fuck are we learning from each other? Nothing. We're weak-willed idiots. We need mythology. We need somebody who's like, no, I won't use guns. I'm going to learn how to punch you in the face and throw shit at you before you can shoot me. You know, we need somebody who's taking some moral stand. You know, even if it is, I do kill people because people suck. That's a moral stand. And then we can explore that, and we can understand what does that mean, and what makes a person like this, and what do they need to learn so that they can get over this idea that killing people is going to make anything any better. You know, or what does Superman need to learn to get over, you know, helping people isn't necessarily making anything better, despite the fact that he keeps showing up, doing it the right way. I mean, that's what I keep learning. As you get like enlightened, you're like, hey, wait a second. I just handled that situation the best that I ever could have in my entire existence, and it still went down essentially the same way. Apparently, nobody wants to be challenged on any level. The only thing we can do is just sort of like hang off to the side and support, and then like when people are ready, be there to help.
Yeah.
So I'll be there with a song. Well, I got a song for it. So I'm like, I'll just be here writing music and songs. So let me know when you're ready.
Obviously, they're gonna. I mean, they passed the $500 million mark with Venom, so it's gonna get greenlit for Venom 2.
I'm hoping that it'll go better. I mean, you know, honestly, at the end of the day,
How do they fix things?
If
though?
they let Spider-Man be a part of the movie, like if Marvel had like let Spider-Man be a part of the movie, I would have been happy with it. I think they can fix it easily, and I think they can kind of get. I don't know.
Because I look
It's
at
a
you as
bummer.
you're speaking for the geeks.
Yeah, it's a
the
bummer.
people who
I've
the hardcore
always
fans.
been speaking for the geeks, and I mean, like I've been a fan for forever. I've watched everything that I love like come to the mainstream, and you know I see Deadpool, everybody loves Deadpool, and I go, Deadpool could have been better, and they go, what? How can you say that? It's one of my new favorite movies, and I go, look, man, Deadpool is one of my favorite characters of all time. My first published work at Marvel Comics is Deadpool. I understand that character very well, and then you let me talk for 2 seconds, and they go, oh, that would have been better. And I just literally just start going, this is what they did. But in the comics, they did something like this. Had they folded that in a little bit more, it would have been much more powerful. Like my main example that I always bring, in the stupid movie, I love the movie, but it's just not as good. The stupid movie, Deadpool is some stupid arbitrary thing that they're doing at the fill-in for Hell House, which is a bar where Weasel works. And they've got the Deadpool going. That is not half as powerful as the real story behind the Deadpool. The Deadpool was a non-boarded gambling thing going on amongst the patients of Department H who were being tortured daily by that guy, Ajax. They're being tortured every day, and they start putting together a Deadpool. Who's gonna die next? Of all of us guys being tortured to death, who's gonna die next? And Deadpool says, before he's Deadpool, I'll take that bet, motherfuckers. I'm gonna win the Deadpool. And he starts fucking with Ajax, trying to get him to torture him to the point that he dies. So his whole name and origin is based on wanting to die, is based on wanting to commit suicide by insult. I'm gonna insult this guy until he kills me. And then what happens is he gets killed. And I mean, this stuff would have been harder to do in the movie. But he gets killed because he's been fantasizing about death and fantasizing about oblivion. And he decides that he wants to kill Ajax more than he wants to die. And basically he scorns Death, who he's been having a romance with. And Death curses him and says, oh yeah, you don't want to come be with me? You're never going to die. And now his healing factor kicks in. And now he's healing ever since. He can't die anymore. But he gets his revenge on Ajax. It was fucking beautiful and poetic. I read that shit when I was 15 or 16, 17, working at 7-Eleven. And it was some of the most amazing stories I'd ever heard. So powerful. And Deadpool, he's a fucking Muppet. You know, he's a complete fuck up, but at the end of the day, you know, he kind of gets the job done. And you know, these stories are there to be mined for greatness. So when I see them make something that isn't as great as the material that's already been produced, I get a little upset.
Now, did the Deadpool movie get it right? Other than that,
Oh, they nailed it. They nailed it.
Because I know Ryan Reynolds is a huge fan of the comic.
To be perfectly honest, I would say the one thing that they didn't quite get right for me,
The
is
origin.
He got the girl, and to me, Deadpool is a Muppet.
Yeah.
He can't win. He can't get the girl. In the end of the day, he is the fuck up that he is because he can never quite get it right. He's trying, and he wants to get it right, but there's too many things working against him, and he's too sensitive, and he's fucking it up. So it was a little bit Hollywood for me, him getting the girl and it being so good for him.
But you understand why they had to do that for
I don't believe that they
a
had
movie.
to do
You don't
anything.
think they had to?
No, not at all. Because I think you can kill her off, have him not know that she's dead, have her come back as Copycat, which is what her character is based on. Have her be a secret agent who kind of fell in love with him even though she was brainwashed. There's a lot of different ways that you could complicate his life further than having it just be a happy ending. I mean, for me, and I think for everybody who was a fan of Deadpool, we liked it because in the comics he never gets what he wants.
Yeah. So
To see him get what he wanted, anybody who was a fan was just kind of like, oh, all right, good. Good then. You've gone long enough. You're like, for us. And then anybody else, it was just like Hollywood, whatever. Oh, but for me, he is the character with the most pathos. He looks like shit. He can't have a relationship. Everybody that he likes doesn't like him. He's too much. He's I really relate to him. He's overbearing. He has too much energy. I've had that struggle in my life with my family, with my relationships. I have too much energy. I have to like keep my energy in wraps for fear that I might steamroll, a loved one. And he's like that. And he's just, a bit of an idiot trying to do what he thinks is right. And all of a sudden, he finds out, what, that guy raped you? Bang! Shoots him.
Yeah.
Because, there we go, that seems right. He's just very, very just going for it, And, I mean, that was very much how I lived my life for a long time. So I could understand that thing, and I think that's why people appreciate, the character. But, I could see him just deal with just even a little bit more pathos.
Mm-hmm. How is it writing for a comic that's characters already defined, like a Deadpool? I mean, it's not your character. You don't.
Well, it's amazing actually, because we look around for spouses and we find people, and we tend to find people and we go like, man, that person would be great if this and that. It's like some adjustments. And that's what you get to do as a writer in comic books, is you go like, oh man, Thor would be great if he just shut his mouth. Thy for verily shall
I feel the same about the movie.
Yeah, well, like Stan Lee, he was very verbose, and he loved writing Silver Surfer and Thor, yak, 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 yak. So you as a writer, you sit there and you go, well, what do I like about this character? What do I love the most? What made me care about this character? And then you go, what's not really working for me about this character? And then you get to break them down and do it a new way. I did a Hulk one-shot, which is collected in the Savage Hulk Volume 2. It was called Hulk Let the Battle Begin. That wasn't my title. My title was Hulk Slave to the Grind. And for me, I was just explaining how he would end up, naked in the desert to fully clothed, hitchhiking down the road,
mm-hmm.
How do you go from being Hulk to from back? So I was just.
So you're answering the super fans question.
Yeah, exactly. So I was just trying to provide a little bit of information, and when you're doing these things, if you're doing them right, really I find that you're righting wrongs. You're looking at what you've seen, what's come before,
mm-hmm.
and it's a wonderful revisionist history. There's all these beautiful artists who come before. Frank Miller is so huge and pivotal for Batman, but there's many, many, many. Jim Aparo and so many others. Dennis O'Neil, who make Batman, not just one person. And then people taking an element of Batman that was okay and then making it really amazing, just with this subtle little shift. So the people who do the best work in comic books are the people who are paying attention both to what they love and what's not so great, what's not so congruent. And you go back in and you take what's there and you make the best of it. And it was actually a huge, awesome learning experience for me as a songwriter, because, especially for myself, it's so hard to look at yourself and be like, who am I? What am I going to be?
Mm-hmm.
When I got the name the Bandoliers, it really spoke to me. It was just a little bit of inspiration. But, I'm Jesse Blaze Snider. I'm named after Jesse James and Johnny Blaze, the gunfighter and the superhero Ghost Rider. So Jesse Blaze and the Bandoliers, Bandoliers is the strap that you put your ammunition in. So the gunfighter, superhero, running around judging everybody, and all of his bullets. That just seemed to evoke a certain something and paint a certain picture for me of southern rock, depth and having a lot of tricks, having a lot of things up your sleeve. So once I had that, I was able to paint a picture for myself of what the band was going to be and what I wanted. It's oftentimes really difficult to do that. Blacklight District, I took comic books, and saving the world and the end of the world, really, and I used that as an archetype to make an album. And it takes a second to figure out a entry point into those kind of ideas that'll really speak to an audience, whatnot. But writing comic books and breaking them down that way has helped me to break down human beings the same way, kind of callously, I don't like this about you. Shh. You know, like, you don't actually say that to them, but you just kind of go, what don't I like? Yeah, let's get away from this. I want to get towards.
Have you ever done panels, like
conventions?
Comic-Con?
Oh, yeah,
where
tons.
where people get so much more into the character than you on asking questions.
Well, it is funny, you know. I mean, like I haven't, you know, I had a little bit of that with Evil Ernie. I revamped Evil Ernie for Chaos Comics, and that one was a really cool one because Lady Death is a big part of Evil Ernie's original origin. All these characters were created by Brian Pulido and oh man, why can't I ever remember his name? Oh, damn artist whose name I can't remember. Anyway, they sold all their characters to Chaos Comics. I'm sorry, to Dynamite. Or let's say it's a long story, but Dynamite eventually got all their characters except for Lady Death, and Lady Death was pivotal to Evil Ernie. So I had to reinvent his origin, and I basically
Without her?
Yeah, without her.
Wow.
So basically, what I had him do, because he was in love with death. So what I did instead was I decided that he was a vessel of God who was meant to be sort of like an avenging angel for heaven. But hell knew about him, and they corrupted him. Because the reason why the good die young on the planet is because that's the way heaven likes it. Good people die, and then it keeps heaven's armies filled with all these bright, shiny souls. So Ernie gets corrupted, basically led to believe that if he goes out and he kills bad people, it'll make the world a better place. What he doesn't know is the more evil people he kills, the more he's imbalancing the scales between heaven and hell. And he's just filling hell up with the powerful energy that they need to overtake heaven. So Ernie going out killing bad guys becomes basically the worst possible thing that could happen for the planet. Mm-hmm. And this was all set up in the initial origin story that I did. So, you know, with that, there was a lot of people, you know, coming to like talk about the previous thing, because he was a bad guy essentially. He was a good guy, but he was a bad guy, but it was founded in love. He loved death. He was trying to impress death. So, like, I felt like Ernie at his core was always founded in love, and as long as he was really brutal, it was still Ernie. As long as he was founded in the love of something, you know. So, but it was really cool too because we made Smiley a demon who's been corrupting him, and like Smiley's really cool in our book. I haven't read Tim Seeley's stuff. Tim's a friend, but I haven't had a chance to read it, so I don't know what he's done with the book since. But yeah, a little bit of that. All my other stuff was short-lived. You know, I did a mini-series for DC Comics called Dead Romeo, a couple of one-shot type things for Marvel. And then I was writing the monthly adventures of Toy Story for Disney Pixar, and the Muppets, Muppet Snow White, and a bunch of random shit. And then I've just, since then I've just been in business for myself. I produced Four Horsemen Studios, the toy company. Four Horsemen Studios, I produced their book Mythic Legions for their Mythic Legions action figure line. Mm-hmm. And I did my Blacklight District book and my book King of Kings that we're going to print on the first issue next couple months.
Very cool.
Oh, what's this?
So this is
the final?
The final. Well,
okay, I've made it. I'm handling myself. Am I behaving super drunk? Okay, all right, good. Not too.
This is Virginia Distillery Company. It's the port cask. So they take.
How much is this bottle?
No, this is like 70.
Okay.
So it's
parallel.
92 proof. They basically take some Highland whiskey from. Are you familiar with Highland from Scotland?
That's where the Highlander is from.
No, there's like one. There's like the Islas, the Lowland, and the Highland. Islas are very smoky.
The Highland is going to kill the Lowland so that he can have the
We've
power.
Actually got some Highland up there. I took it out of the mix for you.
Have you not seen Highlander?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Love them.
Good. All right, let's see. This is going to put me over the top.
You know what?
I feel on the verge of drunkenness.
This bottle was already open, so I know we've had it before, but I don't remember it. So I'm kind of wondering, maybe I shouldn't have it at the end because I'm too drunk to remember it. Good? Not good?
That's pretty good. I would say second. Second to the, I think Few is the best. Second to the Few. Maybe third best for me. Maybe fourth best. Maybe
yeah, I didn't think you liked Jameson.
I don't love Jameson. When they switch it on my, when they switch it out for me, because I mean that's a slightly different one.
It is. They also have this is a stout. They have an IPA
Yeah, thanks for that.
barrel that just came out.
Yeah, is it funny? I've always known or felt that I was here to save the world, and like everything that I did was just sort of like, well, will that help me save the world? You're like,
So you've always felt pressure on you?
well, it's weird because like I was a
Was there
major
pressure on
atheist
you?
for years and years, and I always thought at the same time that I felt like I was here to save the world, I thought, well, that's the most ridiculous idea. That's ridiculous. like obviously you're not here to save the world.
You thought you were the one?
Well, no, not like I was the one, but like that was my job. Like it's like what are you here to do? I'm gonna be a sailor. I'm gonna run. I'm gonna do math, or I like science. You know, like I was like save the world. Like that was for me. That was the thing. So I've just been drawn to superheroes and. You know, the Muppets, I think the Muppets is like sort of reverse superheroes. They're so bad that they make us feel good. You know, and things that filled you with light and strength. You know, my dad, it's funny, he's connected to the glam music scene.
He wasn't
not a
glam.
artist
No.
at all. You know, he was.
I was
Long
part
Island.
of the glam music scene during the glam music scene.
He's not them at all. He was a real freedom fighter, and you know, he was here. You know, he was somebody who had a dad who was in the Korean War and was really hard on him, and you know, and told him, you know, straighten up and fly right and get a good job and do the shit you're supposed to do. And my dad was like, "Fuck that! I'm gonna go do what I love." And his music is all about that. It's just about like, don't fucking listen to the assholes who are telling you to straighten up and fly right, man. Go do what you love. And you know, and for me, that's, you know, freedom fighting.
See,
Helping people to empower people, and that's what I was taught. You know, as an artist, I was taught the art of empowering others. You know, and he gets on stage, and for those, you know, that hour and a half, whatever it is, he is just going to give you his power.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to go, take this, and see how it feels.
See, I grew up in, obviously, the 80s when I was, like, knew how to walk and talk and all that kind
You
of
don't know
crap.
how to walk and talk anymore? Not
You know what? After this,
down.
no, I don't. That's why I'm sitting down. But I grew up with Motley Crue and Poison and all Wasp and Rat and all those bands. But I mean, your dad was East Coast, and so the only thing I knew about Twisted Sister was what I heard. I used to listen to Howard Stern. And so your dad was bar fights and this like crazy guy. I didn't know the music at first. I didn't know the MTV.
Right? So
your dad was
here
crazy.
in Los Angeles, you've got Motley Crue and Poison and I guess Rat and like little bands, right? They are all living a life of excess, taking drugs, drinking, playing, and fucking up a storm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you go across to Long Island, really. Long
Housewives.
Island, New Jersey, not New York City.
Yeah.
Long Island, New Jersey, Connecticut, and you've got Dee Snider. Dee Snider is married with a child on the way or there. He's straight edge. He doesn't smoke. He doesn't do coke. He doesn't drink. And he's the sole songwriter for Twisted Sister. Twisted Sister, Zebra, Rat Race Choir. Rat Race Choir and Zebra were never really big names. Twisted Sister was the only one that was a big name.
Yeah.
And these were all like lumped into the glam band thing. His perspective was that of little Danny Baldwin growing up, being raised by a military dad who was way too fucking hard on him, trying to force all these stupid ideas about suburbia and bullshit on him. He was a riot against suburban lifestyle, a riot against 9-to-5 jobs. The people in LA were just like, escape, escape, escape. Dee Snider said, fight, fight, fight.
Yeah.
And
that's
that
what he did.
is the difference. And that's why I make music, to fight ideas. You know, this whole planet, everything around us, it's just all ideas. And I'm so tired. My whole life, I just heard people go, well, we can't do that. Fuck that, we can't do that. But just because we did the other thing before doesn't mean we can't do that. And all it takes is somebody like me in a position of power going, fuck that we can't do that. And it happens. But as long as there's two people like you, weak-minded assholes going, oh, we can't do that. Well, yeah, of course, while ever you're in power, we can't do that. As soon as somebody who goes, we could do anything. This is just an idea that we had. It doesn't work. There's a new idea. Maybe this will be better. You know, and intellectual ideas, you know, they bring us forward. Glam metal has become mainstream pop music. All mainstream pop, hip hop, whatever, country, it's all glam metal. It's sex, drugs, rock and roll. Let's have a shot. Let's fucking hang out. Let's forget.
I'd say the rappers at this point
are the only ones. Forget, and you won't get upset. Forget, and you won't get upset. I love rock music because I'm upset. I'm upset. Do not forget. They are fucking this place up. I'm going to turn it louder. I'm going to go faster. I'm going to scream it until you fucking hear me. There is something in the water. There is something in the air. The proof is all around us. They are fucking this place up. And all of you people forgetting in the drugs and the alcohol and the women and the things that take the pain away for a moment are not fighting. You need to take your drink, ponder what is going on, and then get fucking in the game and change the system from within. It is just people just like us ruining it for all of us. And then we blame each other like peripherally. No, we have the power to go and do the right thing. And it's just a matter of being powerful and not being forgetful. So, you know, I mean, I really believe in alcohol and marijuana and, and recreation and perspective. You know, this is the stuff that detaches us from life enough so that we can go, oh my God, I'm being such a moron. I love that girl. I need to go show her how much I love her. Whatever it might be, you know, like we need help sometimes. And, you know, and this can be the perspective that we need. And so can, you know, music and the arts and, you know, everything that we, we hear on the radio right now. I wouldn't necessarily say it's doing us any good. But I hope one day maybe that'll change again. I hate being one of those guys going like, man, the 70s were so great. But I mean, we could really use some more of that, I think.
It took me a while to think the 70s were great, for music at least.
I used to hate the damn dirty hippies.
I like the 60s music, I like the 80s.
And now I am one.
And then it took me the longest time to like discover 70s rock.
Yeah.
And
see, I was raised on 70s rock. See, my dad is not a fucking glam band guy. So I Motley Crue and Poison, those guys used to hit on my mother. Well, fuck those guys. But I'm not, whatever. She's a beautiful lady. Of course they were hitting on her. I just don't like what their music's about. They just don't have a lot of meat on the bones as far as I'm concerned. You know, but you know, I got raised on Alice Cooper, AC/DC, Creedence Clearwater Revival, New York Dolls, UFO, you know, bands like that from the 70s, Queen. You know, I find those bands have a lot more substance than what came after. And I mean, and, you know, maybe it's frustration with this system and everything. Everybody's like, fuck it, we can't control it, so let's just get high.
But don't you think your kids are going to be saying the same? Don't you think like
so.
In 20 years, if I was interviewing your son, you'd be saying, you know what? My generation of music was so much better.
You know, I don't know about that.
Because my dad used to tell me that. I know his dad told him that. My grandfather couldn't stand the Rolling Stones. My dad loved the Rolling Stones.
I get that, and there's a little bit of, but there's a lot of intellectual aspects of it. Because my mom's dad is a classic jazz musician. And my father and myself got into a massive argument with him one day about the Beatles, you know, who he just describes as singers. You know, the Beatles are singers. And my dad really was kind of like, hey, Dad, this singer here, like, just because, like, I mean, really, it's like, if you want to diss the Beatles, it's like any other musician of the modern age is sort of like, okay, so I assume I'm included in this because I'm not the Beatles. So we really, like, got into it over, in his mind, it was like, if you couldn't read music and you couldn't do X, Y, Z, that was it. You weren't a musician. But, look, I got news for you, Pops, my grandfather. There is something called the innate. There is what is innate to people. And for me, I have always innately been able to write melody. Beautiful melody. I'm blown away by things that will come to me sometimes. And I'll just be like, wow. I don't feel like I had anything to do with it. I'm just like, thank you. Like this beautiful thing, and there are so many artists who are innate. And, initially so much of the music world was this mechanical, learn like this, 2 + 2 = 4, be a jazz musician, you gotta read music. I mean, I can read music. I was one of the Florida Singing Sons. My dad can read music, he was in choir himself, and, my dad plays guitar. I can bang shit out on the piano, but I'm not a very good player, so I prefer to write with other people because I just always feel like they write better chords than I do. I can figure it out scientifically, but I haven't spent my whole life studying chords. I've spent my whole life studying notes, studying melody, studying lyrics, studying writing stories. So I always prefer to just partner with somebody who's really wonderful with chords, and because I literally would find I would write something myself, and then I would walk in the studio, I'd be like, okay, it's like this, and they'd be like, really? It's like this? And I'm like, yeah. And they'd be like, would you mind if we changed it to this? And I'd be like, oh, that's much better. And then I'd be sitting there going, am I seriously going to take full credit for writing this song? like that guy totally had a way better suggestion. I know that I figured it out. I wrote it myself. I'm like, but it was his knowledge of the chords and how many, because there's so many options. There's so many options to support notes. And really to have a proper judgment of what is the right chord to go underneath any given note, you need to know all of them. And you need to go, this one, and you need to be able to get there. And I'm not that well versed. I can bang some stuff out, but not like that. I'll be like, oh, that works, and I'll be happy with my choice, and then I move on with my life.
So you're not a composer.
Yeah, I'm not a composer. So like I can get what I want, but my song's way stronger when I can work with somebody who's chord-minded. And granted, the majority of these people, they could never write the melodies that I'm bringing to the table. Never. They just couldn't. But they have the tools to support it with the right chords. So, for me, collaboration's really key, I think, to getting the best out of myself, because I know what my strengths are. My strengths are lyrics, and my strengths are melody and rhythms. But when it comes to really, supporting everything the right way, I like to make sure that I'm working with somebody who's just as good at the other side, the composing side, as I am at the melody side. Because I can compose it myself, but I'm just kind of, I'm really good at the one thing. I'm okay.
Well, that's why there's such a band.
Yeah, exactly.
And not...
Well, exactly. And my dad used to write everything by himself, and really it was like, sort of just because the guys didn't really provide him an open, he didn't feel comfortable writing with them, so he never wrote with them. So I always like to try to, find people I'm nice and comfortable writing with and be able to get the most. I really do believe, like, if you're writing properly, not trying to be a sore thumb, you're always trying to find balance with the person you're collaborating with. So whoever you write with, if they're not very good, your song's going to be as good as they are. like because you have to. But if somebody's really good and can rise to the level that you can rise to, you guys can make something really, really, really great. And it'll be solid on all levels, and nobody will be sitting there going, on the music. Because there really is two sides to it. There's There's people who listen in chords and they really appreciate the musical approach, and then there's people who listen to the melody and they listen to the lyrics. And I mean, and I find very rare that you get somebody who's very balanced in their view. You know, it really is kind of, this is what I'm looking for, or this is what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
And with that in mind, I think the only way to please those two ears is to make sure that both voices of that process have, you know, the same kind of say, so that it's not in balance in one way where it's too melody and lyric oriented, or it's not, you know, too musical oriented. Because I'll tune out if it's too musical oriented, and I know other people who tune out if it's too lyric heavy, and you know, or too repetitive or something like that, and it doesn't have enough music going on because they like Rush or Dream Theater, you know, like. But there is a balance, you know. You can please both sides if you care.
Mm-hmm.
So, and really, it just comes from collaboration.
Yeah. Did you want any more?
Oh, I was gonna say, yeah, we should take like a.
Actually,
wait,
we got one more
wait.
that's kind of
Wait, we got
the next
one more?
level.
Oh wait, there's
final
another,
shot.
There's a final shot, a different one. I was gonna say, let's go to the few.
So this one. Have you ever had an Isla?
No.
This one's a treat. I love this one.
Nice.
Ah, damn it! I gotta go buy another one.
Oh,
This is my
the
favorite.
very end.
Um,
To the end of the interview.
it's smoky.
Ooh, all right.
Smell it first. You can actually
Oh,
add
wow,
water
it is
to this
smoky.
one.
Ooh.
Isla whiskeys are very smoky. It's gonna hit you halfway down the throat, and it's gonna stay with you through the rest
Wow.
of the interview.
Ooh. Wow.
This
It
one
really-
is
it,
it's
like,
very
it tastes
different.
Like wood chips. Like,
Okay.
I mean, like, this is the closest thing I could describe.